Mr. Mayor, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. Leonard, thanks a million for the invitation to speak here today on the topic of the transatlantic economy. I'm delighted to do so on behalf of the American Chamber of Commerce Ireland. As the landing point for the first transatlantic cable, which enabled a transformation in global connectivity, Vinelcha has a unique location and place in the story of the transatlantic economy and globalisation. I'm also delighted to be sharing the stage with Martin Shanahan, and I want to pay tribute to the work Martin does in leading an amazing team in IDA Ireland. And I'm also really honoured to be sharing the stage with Professor Geoffrey Garton. In fact, it was at the dinner last year that the then Minister for Public Expenditure and Reform and now Minister for Finance, Pascal Donoghue, cited and quoted from Geoffrey's wonderful book, From Silicon to Silicon. So delighted and honoured to be Geoffrey's warm-up act here today. So in my remarks I'm going to focus on Ireland's place in the transatlantic economy, particularly our relationship with the United States of America, but I'm also going to talk a bit about our relationship in that context with the United Kingdom and the European Union. And my purpose here this afternoon is to try and help us get a shared understanding of the extraordinary depth and breadth of the transatlantic relationship Ireland has with the United States, how it got to this point, and factors I think we need to keep a very close eye on if we're going to enhance it and indeed preserve it for future years. And just by way of background, the American Chamber of Commerce Ireland, it's an Irish organisation, it's not for profit, it's non-partisan, and our mission is to be the voice of US companies in Ireland and Irish companies in the United States. And our vision really is that this two-way, unbelievable relationship remains at an all-time high. And indeed, ladies and gentlemen, as we gather here today, it is at an all-time high in both directions. There's over 700 US companies here in Ireland, and they directly employ over 150,000 really talented people. And they further support another 100,000 jobs in our economy. Today, as we gather here, the total value of US investment in Ireland, from data centres through to the most advanced manufacturing facilities, exceeds $350 billion. Now, that figure exceeds the combined total United States investment in the BRICS countries, Brazil, Russia, India, China. Let me give you some examples of these amazing operations that now call Ireland home. I'm going to start in Limerick with Northern Trust. And Northern Trust opened its office in Limerick in 2007 with 19 people. Now 15 of those 19 still work there 10 years later, but it now has 1,000 people in Limerick, and recently announced it's going to hire 400 more, from 19 to 1,400. Now Northern Trust is led in Limerick by a woman, Catherine Duffy, as are the Irish operations of the two largest companies in the world, Apple and Google. Apple, as you may know, started in Cork in 1981, and they now have 6,000 people. And please goodness, they'll get the green light to start their $1 billion investment in a data centre in Athenry in Galway. Google began their operations here in 2003 with 200 people. Now, if you want a brilliant example of the extraordinary work that IDA Ireland do, you can actually Google the story of how the IDA persuaded Google to land in Dublin. Unbelievable tenacity and vision by IDA Ireland, and that's just one example. Today, Google have 6,000 people, and they were the first to move to a particular part of our capital city that is now known as the Digital Docklands, or Silicon Docks, because all the major global data social media players are now in that part of our capital city, and they've absolutely transformed it. And if I may, as a little aside here, there was a terrific international data summit in Dublin a month ago, and Vint Cerf, who is now working for Google globally, but Vint is commonly referred to as the father of the internet. I think a remarkable moment was when he stopped his presentation to pay tribute to Dennis Jennings as a man who had a fundamental influence on the growth of the internet. I'm going to go to Letterkenny. Primerica started in the year 2000 in Letterkenny with 8 people. 8. They now have 1,300. and they're about to complete a 1.3 million square foot new headquarters. And they're going to add another 300 people to go to 1,600 with that additional capacity. And these are unbelievably talented people right in the northwest of our country, and not just servicing the Prudential, because Primerica is part of the Prudential family, not just serving the Prudential family globally, they are also managing from Letterkenny Prudential's operations in El Paso, Texas, and Newark, New Jersey. Quite incredible. Now, the story of US investment in Ireland, as you well know, is constantly transforming, and we're constantly moving up the value chain. Many of you in the room will remember, like I do, the dark days when Dell announced they were moving assembly operations from Limerick to Poland. Today, even before they merged with EMC, Dell now employ more people in Ireland than they ever did in their history. And the high value that they're contributing is at an all-time high compared to their history here. But what's lovely about this story is the former Dell plant in Limerick is now occupied by Regeneron, who have invested and are investing over $500 million in a state-of-the-art biopharmaceutical facility, and they'll have 600 people working in it. So when you think about all this, and then you say to yourself, what are all these people doing? They are creating products and services that are saving and enhancing lives all over the world. 4 out of every 5 medical stents saving lives throughout the world are created in Ireland. 1 out of every 2 acute hospital ventilators globally are created in Ireland. 1/4 of the world's diabetes patients depend on injectable products created in Ireland. 1/3 of the world's contact lenses are created in Ireland. And 100% of the world's Botox is created in Ireland. So Ireland has still discovered the secret of eternal youth. Now, when you consider the unbelievably high standards that regulators on both sides of the Atlantic operate in areas such as stents being medical technology, or such as pharmaceutical, unbelievably high standards, you'd say to yourself, what an incredible track record these teams here in Ireland have built up of unbelievable manufacturing and operational excellence. And it's no accident that a number of these Irish operations are so punching above our weight have won the very prestigious, globally prestigious Shingo Award for Operational Excellence. Now, I think in the current climate, it's really important for me to talk a bit about the fact this is a two-way street. And I want to make it very clear that investing in Ireland has been good for the United States and good for US companies. Because one thing that unites all the companies that I'm speaking about, regardless of what they do and how they do it, is they're all called multinationals. And they're called multinationals for a reason, because they want to compete multinationally. They want to compete on the global stage. And that means they need to have operations either in or close to the markets they want to compete in. Whether that's Europe, Eurasia, the Middle East or Africa, they must be present or proximate to those markets. And Ireland has an unbelievable successful track record of being their presence, their beachhead, if you will, to serve those markets. And let me share with you some of the comments from the US leadership about the talent they have found here in Ireland. I'm going to give you 4 quotes. The first one is from Ryan Smith. He's the founder and chief executive of Qualtrics, a Utah headquartered US company. Our Dublin office has been phenomenal for us. We have found an unbelievable workforce. The next gentleman is Werner Vogels. He's chief technology officer with Amazon. We have been extremely impressed with the creativity and the strong technical talent available in Ireland. Third one, Drew Houston. He's the founder and chief executive of Dropbox. Hiring top talent isn't easy, and we've been able to do it in Ireland. And finally, this is Mike Corbett. He's the global chief executive of Citibank. The abundance of talent in Ireland is second to none throughout the world. Dublin is the Palo Alto of City worldwide. What an extraordinary testament to the talent we have here in Ireland. We should be very proud of it. And this talent has led to unbelievable world-class innovation in our country. And that innovation is not just in multinationals, It's also in SMEs who collaborate with multinationals, and it's in our higher education institutes and research centres through collaboration as well. Now I can speak about this because every year with our partners, the Royal Irish Academy, and Leonard, I want to thank you for your personal support, and Eve Martin, I want to thank IDAs for their support, for these US Ireland Research Innovation Awards that the Royal Irish Academy does all the judging for to world-class standards. And unbelievable innovations have been recognised. Kinsale-based company Elementary Health for a breakthrough, world-class breakthrough treatment of IBS. Stryker and the University of Limerick, who the first collaboration, the first time we've been able to create auto-mixing bone repair material, really helpful for key surgery. And Hewlett-Packard Enterprises in Galway, who have, that team in Galway have developed a cryptographically secure product serialization technology which is unbelievably applicable in the global supply chain. But ladies and gentlemen, it's more than that, because 700 Irish companies now operate in every state of the United States of America, employing over 80,000 people. So to use the phrase, the jobs have gone back, trade has gone back. You'll know some of the household names, large companies like Bombia and Glendimplex, but there are also new recent arrivals happening all the time. Companies like Netwatch and Tauglass. This is really important. So, for example, when our chamber had a meeting in Washington, D.C. with Speaker Paul Ryan, the Speaker of the House of Representatives, one of the first things he said was how proud he was of the substantial operations Kerry Group has in his home state of Wisconsin. That kind of awareness at that kind of level is critically important right now. And let's also remember there are many brilliant US companies that were founded and are led by Irish men and women. And I'm going to pick two examples. Louth native Dr. Pierce Lyons founded Alltech. It's Kentucky headquartered. It's now a world leader in animal nutrition. The two Collison brothers from Limerick, still in their 20s, went to Silicon Valley and founded what is now becoming a globally successful business in the electronic payments area, Stripe, which actually now has opened up operations in Ireland. And I think it's unbelievable when you think about how Ireland's contribution to the economy of the United States of America has transformed from the time the cable arrived here. In that century, our main contribution, quite frankly, was manual labour to the major great infrastructure projects of the US at that time. Today, an Irish company, CRH, is the largest supplier in North America of asphalt and the second largest supplier of ready-mix concrete. Quite incredible. So can I spend a few minutes, will you keep an eye on my time there? Let me shut up if I'm going over. In the next few minutes I want to chat to you a little bit about, let's remind ourselves how we got to this point, how do we arrive at it. And I thought it was interesting that in his acceptance speech as Taoiseach in the Dáil, Taoiseach Leo Varadkar referred to another Taoiseach who assumed office midway through a Dáil term in a transformative time for Ireland. He was speaking of Sean Lemass. And Sean Lemass, ladies and gentlemen, when he took over as Taoiseach, the GDP, the gross domestic product, per head in our country stood at $850 US. It was a tiny fraction of the equivalent US number. And as you know, in the first 40 years of our independence, we didn't grow at all economically. We remained stagnant because of protectionism. In the early 60s, our population in the Republic stood at 2.8 million. The only place where the population on this island was growing was in Northern Ireland. So in fact, that post-war economic boom was passing Ireland by. And as you probably know, a civil servant called T.K. Whitaker led an analysis of where we're at and what had to happen urgently, and he brought an economic blueprint to Sean Lemass's attention with the message, if we don't completely change our economic policy, we might as well go back and rejoin the British Commonwealth. It was as stark as that. Now remember the time, we talk about living in uncertain times right now, but don't forget that time, Cold War, Cuban Missile Crisis, the fear of nuclear apocalypse. But Lamass and his government and the people of Ireland at that time showed an unbelievable bravery by saying to the world, we're throwing off decades of protectionism, and Ireland is now opening up to the world for business. Quite an extraordinary, brave thing to do. And if you needed a test case of the advantages of turning your back on protectionism, by 2015, the GDP per head in Ireland stood at $54,000, which was on a par with the United States of America. Now, there's a nice little echo this week. Leo Varadkar is on the front cover of the European edition of Time magazine, and the heading, I think, is, speaking of Ireland, an island at the centre of the world. Some of you may recall the iconic Time magazine cover with Sean Lamass on it. Anyone remember what the title was? New Life in the Old Sod. So why has this, what's been our track record, ladies and gentlemen? What have we focused on that has meant we're at this now extraordinary position? You know them all, but let me just call them out for the purposes of this talk. Our membership of the European Union, we're English speaking, we've a common law system, we've an excellent reputation for our education system. We have been unbelievably consistent compared to other member states across the European Union on how we approach our economic policy, right across the political spectrum. We also have an unbelievably talented and skilled public service. And I think during the bailout period with the Troika, the resilience and backbone of our public service needs to be absolutely applauded, as does, I know they're not the most popular people in the world, but the revenue commissioners who actually protected our tax base in spite of revenues collapsing. Last but not least, a world-leading inward investment agency in IDA Ireland and a superb outward investment agency in Enterprise Ireland. So we hear this constantly from our members on both sides of the Atlantic. They constantly call out, for example, IDA as great partners to work with. They constantly call out how unbelievably collegial Ireland is and how they can't get over the fact that they can access decision makers who actually will listen to them and try and take action to the best of their ability. But what they really love, ladies and gentlemen, is the talent I talked about earlier. Now, this is our 2017 report, US-Ireland Business 2017. We've purposely profiled the people. If you visited one of our member companies 30 years ago, you'd more likely to have met with Sean, Pat, Anne and Mary. Today, you're as likely to meet with El Mustafa, Pan, Ashraf and Claudia, because it's not unusual now in our member companies to meet up to 40 different nationalities doing great things in Ireland, proud to be in Ireland, many of them looking to take out Irish citizenship or having done so already. And I think we should reflect on the contribution these people, these wonderful people, have made to the changing nature of our society, our respect for diversity, our respect for inclusion, the fact in 2015 we were the first country in the world to vote by popular vote for marriage equality. But ladies and gentlemen, we need to have a really strong focus and discussion on the changing nature of the US-Ireland relationship. Like 1 out of every 6 children born today in Ireland are born of non-Irish parents. The face and faces of Ireland is changing radically, just as the face and faces of the United States of America is changing radically. It beholds us to reimagine the US-Ireland relationship, to make sure we pass it on stronger than we got it. And quite frankly, the symbols and signs and language that resonated with previous generations will not resonate with the next. We need to find new ways to connect those brilliant bridges across the Atlantic, whether it's diversity, whether it's sustainability, whether it's data and technology, whether it's placemaking. These are things that we have to focus on. Because remember, the strength of where it is at is unreal. We are the only country in the world that's guaranteed a bilateral meeting in the Oval Office with the President of the United States of America. And that day sees the Taoiseach typically having a breakfast meeting with the Vice President and a lunch meeting on Capitol Hill with the Speaker of the House. Any other country would give their right arm for that kind of profile. We need to cherish it, we need to develop it and enhance it. Now, a big part of that story, ladies and gentlemen, is the unbelievable social contribution that US companies make in Ireland. We asked Notre Dame to carry out independent research of this, and this is the report we published at the back end of last year called Beyond Business. Both these reports you'll get on our website, or if you want to give me your details afterwards, happy to send you a hard copy. This found, amongst other things, that US companies support 7,000 community projects on the island of Ireland, and the people who work for these companies donate 600,000 volunteer hours to those projects every year. So I like to say that US companies don't just have a legal license to operate here, they have a social or community license. And these roots are deep. It's now not unusual in some of our more longer standing member companies to find 2 generations working there. Tim Cook, Global Chief Executive of Apple, has said, I'm quoting, "Apple is proud to call Ireland home. We don't see ourselves as just a company that is in Ireland. We see ourselves rooted here." I also want to share with you, for me, a really powerful speech. You'll all remember Donald O'Cusack, terrific goalie for Cork. Donald Logue spoke at an event we had 2 years ago, and he spoke about his journey, and I'm quoting him here. He works for Johnson & Johnson. "When I drive into J&J in Ringaskiddy, I feel like I'm crossing into a little piece of America that still offers a version of the American dream. Listen to this. It's a place that has given me an education, a chance to develop and grow, where I've never felt that there is a limit put on my potential. And I work with an unbelievably diverse group of people." I think this is a really special attribute of the US community presence here in Ireland, from Hollyhill to Ballina. I think these companies have a transformative impact on the regions in which they locate themselves, which is why IDA Ireland are now putting such a strong momentum and focus on attracting expanded operations or new operations to the regions outside of Cork and Dublin. And this is also really important to the American Chamber of Commerce. In fact, nearly all the regional implementation committees for the Action Plan for Jobs are chaired by either our current board member or previous board member. And in fact, last December, on the eve of Philip King's brilliant Other Voices Ireland's Edge conference, we held a leadership roundtable in Dingle to focus on how more foreign direct investment could be attracted to Kerry. I thought it was a powerful discussion. Martin was there. We had the Irish leaders of Coca-Cola, Hewlett Packard Enterprises, Intel, Microsoft, the president of some of our leading universities, brainstorming with Merlin, the chief executive of Kerry County Council, and Oliver, the president of Tralee IT. I thought it was a really powerful session. Referencing Philip King, once invites me to say to you, we are also, ladies and gentlemen, in the Chamber, very passionate about STEAM. So this is bringing the A of creative arts into the STEM, science, technology, engineering and maths. We believe there's unbelievable potential in our country for the fusion of the creative arts with technology, right? Another great speaker we had called Brenda Romero, she's a global leader in gaming, which is a huge, huge sector, as you probably know. She moved from the Valley to Galway. She loves Galway and she's lecturing in the University of Limerick, and she reminds us, quote, "Any new technology will be remembered for the human experience it creates." And I just think the creative arts play a critical role in helping us get a deeper understanding of the impact of technology and advancing technology on how we live, work and play. And I want to turn to the impact of President Trump's administration and the Brexit process. And we're going to take questions, Leonard, are we? So I'm happy to take any questions on any of this stuff. So look, following some initial concerns with the new administration, I can tell you now very clearly, there is no diminution in the ambition and drive of the transatlantic economic relationship. Companies here from the US or Irish companies in the States. Martin announced IDA's half-year results last week, I'm going to say, and Martin's team attracted more jobs in the first half of 2017 than they did in the first half of 2016. Brilliant achievement. And if I may, just a few, this is 2017 now we're talking about. So Microsoft announced 600 new jobs, Indeed announced 500 new jobs, MSD announced around the country 320 jobs, and yesterday we had Zendesk, excuse me, announcing 300 new jobs. That's just a few examples. But look at the IDEA report, it's fantastic. Then when you look at President Trump's 3 key business ideas, cutting taxes, cutting regulation, investing in infrastructure, like what's not to like if you're in business about those 3 things, and particularly great news for the 700 Irish companies who are operating in the US and employing 80,000 people. There was one potential measure in the Republican family that we mightn't have liked. It was called a border adjustment tax, which effectively was a tax that would penalise organisations importing into the United States. That wouldn't have been great for us, but that's dead in the water to the best of our understanding. Now that's interesting because it was slated to raise $1 trillion over 10 years, which I think was going to fund their ability to cut the mainstream headline corporation tax rate. I think maybe down to 15 was an objective. People are saying now it's probably going to be around 20% when all the chips fall. So, what about the new administration's attitude to globalised trade? Well, again, there's a lot of stuff on Twitter, but let's look at some of the other statements, right? The buzz acronym in Washington right now is FAST, Fair and Smart Trade. And when the President gave his well-received speech to the Joint House of Congress, he said he was pro-trade, but pro-fair trade. And when Wilbur Ross, who knows this country very well, he's the Commerce Secretary, when he had his nomination hearings in front of the Senate in DC, he said he's pro-trade, but pro-sensible trade. Now I'd have to say to you, you will find no better example of fair, smart and sensible trade than that which obtains between Ireland and the United States of America. So I'm coming to the end now. Leonard, is that okay? Still on track? Yeah, great. So as regards Brexit, the economist John Fitzgerald, he had a piece in the Irish Times a few weeks ago, and he said that the impact on Ireland because of Brexit, the impact on Irish-US trade because of Brexit will lead to a 4% decline in our GDP. The impact of increased foreign direct investment here because of Brexit will lead to an increase of 3%. So a net 1% hit, but it's going to be very disproportionately felt in key sectors and key regions of our country, right? So we're right. I want to commend IDA, I want to commend the government, Department of Foreign Affairs and Trade, for the unbelievable job they have done in placing Ireland at the heart of the Brexit process. Well, ladies and gentlemen, let's be really clear about this. Europe is on the move again. And the further east you go in the European Union, the less they care about Brexit. We need to make sure we have a laser focus on Brexit, but we've also laser focus on the Macron-Merkel axis that has the European Union on the move, and that we're part of that. And we're losing an ally in the United Kingdom at the Brussels table on key issues of strategic importance to Ireland, but we're also working really hard on gaining new allies, which I think is great to see. So I want to close by talking about things I believe we need to focus on that are within our control if we're going to maintain and enhance this unbelievable transatlantic relationship we have. We need, ladies and gentlemen, urgently to future-proof the capacity of our country to absorb the investment that's coming and that's here. And that includes availability of sufficient quality rented residential accommodation. It includes finishing our motorway artery structure. It includes sufficient choice of schools. It includes, we can't wait much longer, ladies and gentlemen, for broadband of acceptable speeds throughout this country. Have a look at what Estonia have done and are doing in relation to broadband. Amongst the problems, and you all know them, but we are well below the OECD average for female participation in the workforce. I think broadband is a key factor there. And of course, we also see our SMEs, our small businesses, are being precluded from realising their potential in many parts of the country because of access to broadband. We need to remove the barriers for girls from pursuing STEM subjects at school and STEM careers. We need to do that urgently, and I want to take this opportunity to commend BT Ireland for their leadership in partnering with the with the BT Young Scientists exhibition every year. If you've not been, go. You'll walk away energised and really invigorated and confident about the future of our country. We need to actively address the bias, mainly unconscious bias, that is preventing women from fulfilling their potential in careers here in Ireland. In many sectors, I'm just going to call out tech as one example of it. And finally, ladies and gentlemen, our personal tax system is globally very uncompetitive, and we certainly want, as a chamber, to see that being addressed, because if we don't, we're hindering jobs coming here and we're encouraging jobs to leave, quite frankly. So I am going to conclude by saying, in this very uncertain period in world affairs, we can make two statements with absolute certainty. The first one is that the European Union will remain the most important global trading partner and market for the United States of America. And the second one is, for unfortunate reasons, Ireland will shortly become the only English-speaking gateway to that market for the United States of America, and we have a brilliant track record of success in attracting that investment. So if we maintain the courage of our convictions and the vision of those who went before us and brought the transatlantic cable to this part of the world, revolutionising connectivity, we can only have confidence for the generations to come. Thank you all very much.